From a closet, also known as the Jim McCarthy Voiceovers World Headquarters Studio, this is the JMVO Weekly Primer. Please subscribe, rate, and comment via jimmccarthyvoiceovers.com/podcast. This is episode 13 of the JMVO Weekly Primer, where we talk about all things that are good for your mind. A place where you can marinate your mind in good stuff. Because I believe when you do that, good stuff happens. Of course, if you like what you hear and you hear all the other episodes that we put out there, please subscribe, rate, and comment, and like us and all that good stuff. And make sure that you go to iTunes or whatever, pick your poison. If you go to jimmccarthyvoiceovers.com/podcast, you'll be able to pick from Stitcher, Blueberry, or iTunes. I got to get us on Google Play one of these days. I just got to figure it out. I am Jim McCarthy of Jim McCarthy Voiceovers, and this week, my special guest and really fast friend, Tommy Davidson. Good time Tommy out of Murfreesboro. I've had the benefit of being on the morning grind a few times, so I am more than happy to welcome him to the Weekly Primer this week. Tommy, how are you doing, man?
Great. Hey, it's a pleasure to be on your show, man. So much more high than what I'm used to. I didn't even know I could get on a computer and do this. I'm always on a phone, so I appreciate you pushing me to do this.
No, not a problem, man. I've always, I'm a big fan of getting people out there doing their thing, talking about what they talk about, and of course, watching and listening back to what they do, because that's how you get better.
You tell me that all the time.
I know, but you think it's kind of narcissistic, you said.
I just think I'm too damn lazy to do it, so I'm going to throw all these excuses at you.
But you know what? When you're driving and you're going places, listen to your stuff, put it out on iTunes. You don't have to watch it. You listen to it.
I am convinced, I am certain of this. The more you do it, the more you watch it, it makes you become a much more effective salesperson. It makes you become more persuasive. So I'm convinced I need to do it, and I just don't by being lazy. That's the only reason.
My buddy John David Wells already commenting, McCarthy, TV star. Yeah, okay. John David Wells has got one of the best voices out there. Like, as far as a voiceover voice, he sounds just like Mike Rowe, and he should really be capitalizing on that. But I digress. So this week on the morning grind shows that I've been watching, you've been really hitting on some interesting topics. Topics like, what are you feeding your mind? I'm a big proponent of what you marinate your mind in. The better, the more positive things I believe that you marinate your mind in, the more fulfilled your life should be. You start thinking in that direction. You'll start attracting things, better things to yourself. Living with uncertainty, which of course we all do. I think that's just a matter of acknowledgement. Do you acknowledge that you live with uncertainty, or does the steady paycheck really kind of float your boat? And the EQ, the emotional quotient of being driven. Notice how I just said that? I don't know why I said it like that. Driven.
You on radio, man. We're on a radio show.
It's kind of like that. We're going live. I've always said that about you, that you have the DNA of a potential radio host. Certainly a talk host.
Voice and your knowledge. If I only had your voice and your knowledge, man.
You know what? You're still, you're only a couple years older than I am. So, we're kind of in the same boat. You're already well on the path, You have the personality.
I hope so.
I think you do. I told you that. So, whenever I listen to you, you really kind of feed the so getting back to your topics, what are you feeding your mind these days?
I really am the type of person, I seem to not be able to retain information. Like me and Burt, Coach Burt, we can go somewhere and he can hear the same thing I'm hearing, and he can retain so much more of it, so much faster, so much deeper. I'm the type, I like to really study 1-2 people max, and I like to fully understand. I like to become them and make my decisions. And what I mean by them, I am who I am, but they give me more certainty in what I'm doing. I get low on confidence. I get doubt. I become uncertain at times. And what I do is I listen to Cardone. I listen to Burt, Andy Frisella. Those are the 3 people that I probably spend the majority of my time listening to, those 3 people.
Okay. Okay. And just to give you a little bit of background, one of the things I wanted to cover was your emotional quotient of being driven. You and I are similar in the sense that we've tried out probably all the wrong things to do in the first part of our life, that season of our life. You say that you wish you knew what I knew about radio and broadcasting and doing this kind of thing. But let me be the first to tell you that you generally don't make too much money doing that. There used to be a time when you could, as Mr. John David Wells is commenting, he's on radio in Dallas, but he went through a season himself when I met him in Las Vegas that, he went from success to kind of a season of figuring out where he was going to go, then back to success doing what he's doing now on the air in Dallas. But typically, a lot of the first part of my life was about fun and doing what I wanted in terms of career, not necessarily about financial growth or prosperity. And I think both you and I kind of have that same story in a way. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about your background before you discovered real estate as your true self.
I was really always under the influence of who I was around. And I wouldn't say that I would do exactly what they do, but my mind would shape to what they were doing. So I was hanging out with people. The highlight of our life was the weekend down on Broadway in Nashville. We were really looking forward to, hey man, I got some money. And when I'm talking money, I got enough money to go out drinking for a night, then just starve the rest of the week. That's how it was for me. But at that time in my life, I probably felt better about myself having fun chasing women as opposed to coming out and doing the hard stuff Monday through whatever. It should be a 7-day-a-week job. I just didn't get the same satisfaction from job. I got more satisfaction out of chasing women. Am I allowed to talk about this kind of stuff, or do we need to make it? Do we need to make it PG? But
anything goes.
I got more satisfaction probably out of chasing women. I felt better about me because of something earlier in my life. I'm sure there was some type of a wound or something that made me insecure. See, I believe when you're driven, it stems from some type of an insecurity. That's why you want to get to another place. I believe you are insecure. And at that time, I think what I was really trying to show my version of being a man was, hey, I got girls, I got women. So I was really chasing something that wasn't worth catching. I was chasing the wrong thing in my life. It was easy.
But you got it out of your system. It was a drive to get it out of your system in a way. Similar to me, I don't really have the women thing. It was more about notoriety. I always wanted to be good at something. And early on, I never felt like I was, until I discovered playing the drums. I got really good at that and I identified really strongly with that. And then that became, the creativity that I brought to radio. That became my identity. But I was never one of those guys that just naturally attracted income. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Until I made that shift in my life recently. Mm-hmm. So is that something similar to you as well?
I wanted income, but to go back, I was always pretty good at about everything I did. Pretty good. Mm-hmm. But notice I'm saying the term pretty good. Therefore, never put enough effort. I didn't have enough drive. I didn't have enough ambition to shift from pretty good to good. Because you got to get good before you can get great. Mm-hmm. And I didn't experience a shift in my life until I was 35 years old and had to move in with my mom because we were going through this was 2009. It was such a hard financial time. I had no choice. And this one guy came into my life and he really taught me true internal confidence, which that's the only form of confidence, is something that you manifest from within. And it was kind of like I liked learning at 35, whereas before I didn't really care about learning. And I really started going on I just got very hungry about learning about my own potential, and it grew. It started out with like a little bitty baby spark, and then I'd have a little bit of success. Then I would want more, and I was getting hungrier and hungrier to get to where I could be. And with each, however often you want to say, I don't want to say daily, but over 1 year, I get a little bit better. I made a little bit more money. And you get better, I believe you get better in little bitty increments. And then you look back over a year and you're like, man, I've gotten a lot better, but they've come in little bitty increments.
Do you remember that one moment where you just decided, damn it, I'm done. I need to make that switch. Mental switch going off.
I remember the time. I don't know if there was just a one moment, but I remember times, it was all happening throughout the course of a breakup where my heart was just completely ripped open. And I had taken a lot of risk for this relationship that didn't get paid back. And two people, Tony Woodall, he's a Church of Christ preacher, and my buddy Tim Dutton really shaped my thinking. When Tim Dutton told me at 35 years old, Tommy, you're running out of time. You're 35 years old. All these dreams that I thought one day I'm going to have this, I'm going to have that. He said, hey, man, you've been talking about this too long. You're running out of time. And it was that conversation, if you could think about shaking somebody, that was probably the first time I started thinking more urgent about maybe he is right. Maybe it is time I got to do something about this.
And at that point, you decided to just move forward with it.
That's when I really knew, man, I am running out of time. And I think what a lot of people think is one day I'm going to do this. It's really easy to sit at 25 to 30 years old and say, one day I'm going to be successful. One day at 32, I still got time to be successful, but it just creeps up on you. And then you're like, man, I haven't been doing what I need to do to get to this point in my life. I've got to make some major shifts in my life. And really,
do you remember the version of yourself you had in your mind when you were 18? When the 40-year-old version of yourself that you had in mind when you were 18?
Yeah, and it was the wrong version. It was more about a financial. I wanted money, and what I have found out is whenever you're only chasing money, you're chasing the wrong thing. You should really chase what you said earlier. You always wanted to be good at something. When you get good at something, then you get the money. You don't get the money and they get paid. And I was really focused on the wrong thing. I was just thinking, how can I make more money? How can I make more money? How can I make more money? I was looking at the wrong thing. I was really never making any more money because I was really never improving in any area of my life.
Right. And that's similar to me where I got really good at something, but the money, I had a side hustle for years with the voiceover, and I ran a company with multiple voiceover talents called C-Note Spots. John David Wells was a part of that roster. And a lot of that was, because someone told me when I got to Vegas that he got tired of seeing the salespeople as the only people driving the really nice cars, and the programming people other than the on-air talent, and I mean the morning show talent that really made the money, driving a nice car. So he decided to do his own thing, and that really inspired me. I remember that moment in my life going, you know what, I can do that too. But I never took it seriously as a full-time gig until 2016. I mean, that's as late as that. Mm-hmm. I got let go of my last job, and I was like, I'm done. I am done working for other people. I am so done with it. And I've always had that DNA in me to be an entrepreneur. My father had it, just kind of doing your own thing. But I mean, at some point you decided to, and one of the titles of this is what people don't see, of realizing, and I guess this kind of plays into where we both are, understanding that our goals are going to take time. And seeing people that have been introduced to you in the past 6 months, knowing that you have been a 100 home a year guy this past year, which congratulations for that. That took time. You made a commitment 6 years ago to get to 100 houses, and it took that long. Is that correct?
It took 5 years. It really took 10 years, but I made the commitment 5 years. No, it took 15 years, but I made the commitment 5 years ago. I've been in real estate for 15 years. So it took 15 years to get there.
So you decide, okay, that's news to me. I didn't know you were in real estate that long, but you decided at one point, even though you had the ability.
Way too long, Jimmy, way too long. And that's what part of my story is. I believe I beat mediocrity. Most people, I don't know if they shift after 10 years and say, hey, I'm going to go from here to that, as you call it, a hockey stick. I feel like we're still in the, I don't know when you're going up, when you're not all the way up. I don't know what this part is, but we're definitely going up. The hockey stick ain't complete. How big is it going to get?
Do you feel a lot of your experience leading up to this is fueling that? I mean, there was a trial by fire up until 5 years ago when you made that commitment.
I'm going to tell you what has probably fueled it the most is being around people all the time that are more successful than me. Mm-hmm. That whenever you're sitting there in one of your best friend's beach houses and you ain't got one, when you're riding around on your buddy's Mercedes Sprinter, whenever you're doing these other things that you are excluded from simply because you ain't made enough money because you ain't committed to it. That's what really motivates me. Knowing this, I could be doing better. Mm-hmm. They're doing it. The reason I see what they're doing, I see their action, I see their commitment. Where I'm lacking, it's not that they're necessarily smarter than me or they present better than me. They just take more action. They live with more uncertainty than I do. I've got to get better living with more uncertainty.
In terms of risk taking. Exactly.
And that's different forms of risk taking. It's not just monetary risk taking. It's also pride. It's also fear of failure. There's a lot of things out there that tie into fighting the feeling of feeling uncertain.
And of course, you're referring to Coach Burt with the Mercedes Sprinter. Talk about that relationship, and was that a critical turning point in your perspective and attitude in your success at that point?
He's definitely one of the most influential people. He's one of my best friends, first off. So to go from just a pure coaching relationship that started in 2009, I was lucky enough for the owner of the real estate company, John Jones, to bring in Coach Burt. Well, during this time, I don't know if you remember, I had this starvation for self-improvement. And he was also looking for somebody to give it to. And that was me. We really kind of strategically partnered. And as I was going through this transformation of my life, at the same time, I'm a natural advocate for other people. As a matter of fact, I'm very outspoken how I promote other people. So during this little perfect storm that came together, I was the student that needed the teacher. The teacher needed more exposure. So we're working together where I'm telling everybody that I can, this is the greatest. He's the greatest. So we both have really ascended at the same time. Now, of course, he's ascended a lot higher than I have. But together we've become, he's one of my best friends. And to have somebody like that is your best friend that I just call and talk to him, think about how my thoughts have changed. Think about how I can see myself, my little company over here. Think about how much that's changed just because he's like my best friend. I mean, there's so much that, that's probably hard to explain whenever you're around these certain people, Michael Burt, Derek Godwin, these other people that are really pushing you to hit your potential. That's when I get around them, they're talking about themselves, but they're also challenging me to get to another level.
It's story sharing.
Right.
Yeah. And it's a lot of, when I talk about marinating your mind in good stuff, you should really do that with people as well. The better people you surround yourself with, the more you really do become the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most.
No question.
The higher that average.
That's probably been the biggest shift for me is just hanging around people that had a different focus. People that were on a mission to get to another level. No matter where they were, they want to get to another level. Yeah. As opposed to some of the people where we were out, we want to go chase girls, want to go get drunk, doing that kind of thing.
But a lot of that happened in your life. Like I said, a trial by fire for a reason, A lot of people in 2013, I tell this story probably on every podcast, but in 2013, I got out of radio because I needed to make better money for my family. I had a friend of mine in the car business who ran a dealership, and he said, why don't you come on board with me? And, you can make $70,000 to $110,000 a year. And I was like, hey, I'm on board. I had no idea what I was in for. And 2, 3, 4 months in, I was going, what the hell am I doing? But I look back on that time in my life because it transferred to Mercedes and it taught me how to sell and how to teach people to sell and how to have the mindset of a salesperson and understanding that everything in life is a flipping sale. You're either selling or you're being sold. It really is. And it's one of the things that I kind of took away from. And now it shaped me into what I'm able to do now, having that skill set, being able to talk about, and of course, having the broadcast background, being able to conduct a somewhat coherent interview and do what I do and try and figure out that business side of it. And in addition to that, taking the marketing stuff that I've learned for the past 20 years and applying it to different businesses and, talking to you about your thing and all that stuff. Living with uncertainty, getting back to that. Do you think a lot of people understand that? Do you think a lot of people live with uncertainty and are really aware of it?
I say is unclear. I got all kind of bullshit in my mind that's thinking this, thinking that. So, no, they probably don't. And I tried to articulate it last night, but no, they probably don't know exactly what it means when I say living with uncertainty, because we want certainty. Why would anybody sign up to say, hey, I want uncertainty in my life? So, no, they probably don't. They don't know how.
But I mean, for the people who are earning a steady paycheck are living probably with some of the biggest risk, and they're not even aware of it. They're completely unaware.
Well, we're really only aware of what we feel in the moment. It's hard to tell you, Jim, on Tuesday, you're going to feel an X way. Well, right now, you can't feel it. Emotions are so temporary, I feel like. And it's hard to get people to understand that. One day you're going to regret this. Well, in the meantime, hey, I got what I want. I want to be certain. I got this coming in. I'm good today. Now, a lot of people think I'm going to get better, and I'm just going to take my certainty and get better and better and better. I believe you're going to have to take on some type of an uncertain risk to get better, to get more, to have more out of life.
It's funny. I was just thinking about how about your team and how you coach people up in your team. You have Cousin Charlie, you have the Weatherman. I would assume that these kind of buddies of yours from, I would imagine Charlie's your cousin, first and foremost.
Yeah.
I don't know the relationship, honestly. And the Weatherman you brought on, I mean, it's almost like you're assembling a morning show without even knowing it.
I probably don't. I don't have a vision. I need it. I know where I want us to go, but I'm not very good at strategically saying this is where we're going, and this is step 1, step 2, step 3. I'm willing to try things, and some days we may have some good things, and other days we may pull back and we messed up. But that's kind of how my mind works. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's where we are. We do like structure. We do like systems, but we buy into one another, Jim, because we all care about each other. And I tell them all the time, I'm not a very good leader. I really am more of a subservient, whatever that tricky word is, where I'm going to put myself last in this organization. Right. And I want to help everybody here get their win first. And growing up through the 80s and 90s, I don't think that's the way leadership was looked at. I think the leader's up here and he's looking down, and people want to think of Nick Saban demanding everything. That's just not me. The way I feel like I get the best out of everybody and the most buy-in for the team is, hey, your interests come before mine. And that may be the wrong way. Somebody might say in 5 years, dude, you've done this all wrong, and here's what you've done wrong. But here's something that I figured out. Whether you push the right button or you push the wrong button, as long as you're pushing buttons, you're eventually going to figure things out.
Well, I think When Leaders Eat Last, which is a book by Simon Sinek, who wrote, Find Your Why and Start With Why. It's all about, creating that culture. And of course, when the leaders put themselves last and leaders eat last, you create a culture of people who hopefully will take a bullet for you. I mean, I heard a great quote one time from somebody who said, you're either going to have a leader who people will take a bullet for, or a leader who will get killed in friendly fire. And I've certainly worked for both of those. I mean, some of the best leaders and managers I've ever worked for, I can count on one hand. And I continually think about them as far as what they've done. They've been great culture creators. And that's a big component to that. And one of the episodes of the previous primer episodes with Arnie Malham, who created CJ Advertising, his turning point as far as creating a culture came when someone who was applying to be a team member told him, well, I really want the job, but I really don't want your company on my resume. I mean, imagine hearing that. Someone coming to work for you. Not only, it's like, yeah, you're compromised. Yeah, I guess you really don't want it on your resume because I really don't feel like hiring you right now. But that was a turning point for him. That was a very rough comment to hear, and he had to really internalize that and figure out, okay, why are they thinking that? And then another person soon after that, it's like everything is kismet that came into his life at that point that he needed to hear. And he basically told him that leadership, your culture reflects your leadership. So if you're putting yourself last, you're probably on your way to building a pretty good culture. And it's them centric, like what we always talk about.
That's the way I feel the best. And I do believe you got to be you to be the best you. I can't come in here and be something that I'm not. They're going to see right through. The one thing I'm going to be is I'm going to be me. I'm going to be genuine. I'm going to do my best to always be transparent. Now, where I let these people, we just had a meeting about how I've let them down, and I'm saying this to them. I should have done X better months ago. And, because I didn't do that, now there's a lack of trust within the organization, or there's some unspoken bitterness because of, if we could go back and look, I should have done this sooner. So I do believe this. It's my responsibility. I believe I can always trace something back to where I let people down. And that's my mindset.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, there's also, as you were saying that, I was thinking of things like one of the guys I worked for, the guy who actually got me into the car business, his name was Steve Brink. He had the entire staff in the palm of his hand. I mean, he would come out smiling. He knew everybody's name. Everybody was happy to have him around. He sounded like John Madden on all their radio commercials because I produced all their radio commercials. You might actually even remember him. I mean, Crest Honda. You're like, hey, Steve Brink, Crest Honda. I mean, back in the day, probably in the late millennium when we started getting into it. But he, I've been in his meetings. He was tough and would deploy a toughness, but at the same time be encouraging, So taking it on the chin as a manager most of the time, I guess you have to find that balance, when you're creating that culture. And I'm a big proponent on talking about creating culture. I think it's, strategy, you got nothing unless you have a culture all the time. Some of the things that we talked about, marinating your mind in things. What is the most satisfying thing about what you do? Which is, by the way, the best question that Grant Cardone has ever heard. I hold that title.
Congratulations. I'm the most satisfied. I probably am the most satisfied whenever I am responsible somehow that leads to effect in a positive way from somebody else. Whether it's if somebody says, man, I watched that podcast with you and GTT and it was awesome. That's very satisfying to me. Whenever any way I can affect someone that moves them, that's probably when I feel the best about myself. And I'm not going to say the cliche bullshit, I like helping people. Well, no, it's more than that. I like to feel good about me. I like to tell you something that changes your life. And the selfish part is it makes me feel better.
Well, what's next for you? What how are you going to bring your broadcasts, which, by the way, if you're not following Tommy, seek him out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You do an 8:30, like on the dot morning show for 15, 20 minutes. I find absolutely fascinating. And I encourage you to follow him. What's next for you? I mean, you have so many different shows, How are you going to start growing them? I mean, some of them might need a podcast intro, and I may know a guy.
I definitely need that. But to be honest with you, I don't know. I do need to plan this. I need a bigger vision. I do know this, that I can't do it by myself. I've got to find somebody that's going to help me get these things bigger. Mm-hmm. I don't believe you can really get anything big and great on your own. It's a team effort. If it's just you, it may be great in your little head, but it ain't great. It ain't great to the world. So I'm going to have to get uncertain again. Here we go with that term. to get bigger in everything that I'm doing, because it's going to require some form of risk. I'm going to have to hire more people, or I'm going to have to do something that's going to be a financial risk or some, in some way. So whatever, I've got to figure out what it is that's going to help me get bigger. But what I do is I focus on the content. I focus on, and my content comes from who I listen to as it pertains to my life. I'm going through.
You have your own angle on it. What do you ever go back and listen to your earlier offerings?
No.
No?
Man, I just do it, move on, and go to the next thing. I'm just that thing I'm very, I chase things.
I would suggest that you do that. Because,
sometimes they pop up, and I'm like, damn, I suck. Listen to how slow I talk. Listen to how unclear that's the best thing about video. It highlights how unclear you are, where you're saying things and you didn't even finish the sentence, but in your mind, you've closed it, but you're like, they ain't going to understand what I'm saying. I didn't even say anything right here. Listen to how lazy my speech is, my grammar. I don't care about if I say the words right, but I want people to understand the meaning of what it is that I'm saying.
Absolutely. And it's, but I also think that helps you when you go back and look at how far you've come.
It does. You're right about that. But again, I'm probably too lazy.
Well, do it and get in the habit of listening to everything you're on how you can get better. Not that I think all of us can get better, but I think especially, yeah. I mean, that's like I've said on your show before, when on the air, back when I was in Connecticut, we'd run a skim tape, and the people who got better are the ones who regularly listened to their skim tapes. As a voiceover talent myself, I'm constantly listening to my voice. Even after 20 years, I'm listening for those little nuances I could do better at. And it's a continuous cycle of growth. How do people find you, man? How are you? What's the best handle for people to seek you out? And what is it that you want to share with us that you're looking to do or attract attention to?
I want to become famous in this world. I want 7 point whatever billion people to know who I am. I want them to know that you can really be a half-assed dude and make a decision. Man, this ain't good enough. I'm going to shift. You can do that because I've done it now. I'm nowhere near satisfied with where I am, but I talk about this all the time on my Facebook page, Thomas C. Davidson. Also have a page, it's Good Time Tommy. I want the world to know me as Good Time Tommy, because there is a difference between Good Time Tommy and Thomas C. Davidson. I'm a Gemini, and I don't get into all that stuff, but there is two people. And so Good Time Tommy D on Instagram, Good Time Tommy on Facebook and YouTube, or Thomas C. Davidson is my personal Facebook page.
Did you go to college?
I did.
Did you graduate?
5 years. Yeah, 5 years. Psychology degree.
Would you have done it again if you had to right now?
If I were today, go back to the 90s and do it, or do it today?
Do it today. Let's say, the cliche question, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
I don't see, it was important to my family that I graduated from college. So I would have to redo that because it meant a lot to my mom that I graduate. So from that angle, I would say, yeah, I'm glad I did it, and I would have done it all over again today. If it take away my family component of this, I would try to go work for Grant Cardone. At 18 or 19 years old, I would negotiate time with his company, and I would negotiate whatever, if he didn't want to pay me, that'd be fine. But think about how much of an unfair advantage you would have let's just say if you're a football coach. Imagine right now if you could go work under Nick Saban or Urban Meyer. After 10 years, think about how far advanced you would be. Think if I could go to Cardone and just somehow be in his office around that environment, it's gonna put me at such a higher level compared to the peers that I'd be competing against if I left his office. So I would look to go work for a mentor over college.
That's actually really good advice. I'm not sure if I would do college again. You know, I've got children, and I guess the driving factor for my success is my family and wanting to provide a lot better for them. That's what really drives me. Both you and I being privy to Cardone's culture and going down to his office, what were some of the biggest takeaways that you noticed when you were down there?
I was really amazed at his involvement in so many different areas of his company. When I walked in there, he was talking to his me and Robert Sislow have become friends. I mean, I would say he's a buddy of mine now. And Sislow had a little department over there, and everything that you saw, all the content over there. I was really amazed by the command that Cardone had over something that he's not an expert in, but he's telling people this is how it needs to be. I was really impressed by the way people looked at him, how they looked up to him, and how he seems to have so many. Everybody seems to be in the right place in that company. You know, he's done a great job. Again, it's taken him. He's 60 years old now, but I was really impressed by everybody kind of. It acted as one, even though they're in different departments. I was just really impressed that day about, man, he's just got everybody playing at a very high level, no matter what it is they do.
But he doesn't make it seem like work, it sounds like. You know, after talking to Jared on episode 11.
Great podcast, by the way. That was great.
You. I mean, he was a great guest. You know, I wanted to talk culture with him, but it took a completely different turn. And we talked about a lot of other really good, meaty topics. So if you haven't checked it out, I would certainly check it that episode. Episode 11 with Jared Glant, Vice President of Sales. He talked about getting in on pretty much the ground floor, which is funny because the ground floor at that time was Cardone being into 25 years into what he was doing. Mm-hmm. And Jared considered it being the ground floor of where they are currently, which is kind of funny, you know, hearkening back to the origination of this podcast and the topic, what people don't see, you know, Cardone was a car guy for so long, training car salespeople and car dealerships for so many years. And now he's so much more. He's one of the most influential business people on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. But up until literally 5-6 years ago, a lot of people haven't heard his name. Mm-hmm. It literally happened in his 50s. Mm-hmm. And for the things that people don't see, that just keep pushing, just keep going. The uncertainty that you think you don't have is actually, you're a lot more certain of stuff when you start taking control of what you have in front of you and taking control of your life. And wrapping your mind around that, which is kind of something that you have had in the past 15 years. Real estate, you're on your own business. It's similar to car sales. You can make your own business out of it. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people, I think the uncertainty extends to working for one person, and all of a sudden that one person decides to cut you loose. Then, you know, good luck. You're on your own.
That's blind uncertainty. They don't even know how uncertain their life is yet.
Right. And that's happened to me. But, you know, again, hearkening back to the origination, and I keep on going down different, like shiny object syndrome going on here. People don't see what led you. When they see you at the top of where you are, they think, oh, wow, he's got it good and all this other stuff. They see Tommy, you know, Good Time Tommy selling 100 houses. Man, it must be nice to him. It took you 15 years to get there, man.
Right. And I can't do it by myself. You know, there's 5 of us over here. I mean, it ain't me. It's us.
Right. And now this year, you want to get to 200.
That's the next goal. This year, that's going to be a challenge, but probably don't have enough people to do it yet. I'm going to have to get more uncertainty in this office, hiring more people.
Yeah, and you're actually putting out your podcasts on iTunes and everything now, because I've been seeing some of them.
It is. I mean, Kathleen does all that. You know,
she's great.
She is great, and I believe in. You know, I've got a lot of friends that they want to hire in their specific company, and they say, well, they don't have any experience, or I heard Micheal Burt say something so impactful to me. It does not matter if they have experience. Are they a winner or are they not? I want to hire winners. I want to hire people that are just really good, talented people. And I believe if you get them in here and you help train them, it's going to be the best decision that you made over hiring experience.
And you know what? That's going to really play into your culture. You know, if you can be an identifier of the DNA of a winner and see the passion that somebody can bring to the table and the fact that they're going to go to town and be a big advocate for you and the company, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong.
I'm not always great at identifying it. You can be tricked.
Sure.
I'm tricked into hiring people that come to me and they're like, you're the greatest. I want to be around those kind of people because my insecurity is being fed. Then when I know it's not working out with them, I'm probably not quick enough to get them out of here. Those are things that I got to get better at.
Well, let me ask you this. You hire people, some of the richest people that I've come across have the same thing in common. Look, I'm not going to pretend to be the smartest guy in the room. I'm going to hire people smarter than I am and let them do the parts of the job that aren't in my wheelhouse. You know, case in point, with Big Dot Lighting, which is the other company I own, the lighting conversion company, we hired on an operations manager recently who is smart in the area. I mean, mega smart in the areas that Tim and I just weren't, it's just not our wheelhouse. And it's been a blessing. And it's one of those things, again, with uncertainty and risk, okay, we just got to keep on finding a way to pay this guy and keep him going. But he's certainly a lot smarter than we are when it comes to so many things about running a business. Is that something that you look forward to?
I believe in strategically partnering with an ally where I've got this unique skill set. You've got this unique skill set. This is what I'm willing to do to partner up with you if you're willing to do what I'm not willing to do. That's kind of how I would describe that. You know, I like we offer something different is how I would probably look at that. You know, if we're both kind of good at the same thing, there's probably still a missing structure there.
Well, getting to your customers, that's you brought something, we offer something different. What is your differentiator in a sea of realtors?
That's something we're still trying to articulate better, but I want to create a brand so big and so powerful. Customers come to me as a free prize because of how I can help them with something in their future. Past customers come to me if they need money, if they're raising money for their kid, if they're ever raising money, if they need help with something, I'm going to sign up to help them.
Right.
And because I believe in the future, just helping somebody find a house or sell their house and doing a good job, that doesn't matter anymore, you know, because that's what's expected out of you. You don't get patted on the back. You don't build these winning fans by doing a good job because it's expected. What can I do outside of real estate that's impactful in their life? I would love it if I've sold probably 1,000 homes now. I would love it if I had 1,000 people that were so turned on to my content that it made a difference in their life. Do
they know about it? Are you sending it out to them?
We are. Problem has been I've confused some people. Hey, are you still selling real estate? Are you a self-improvement guy? Exactly what it is are you? And again, I'm pushing buttons, and sometimes I'm hitting the target. Sometimes I'm so far off the target it doesn't make sense. So I believe I could probably do this faster if I had a better vision and it was more clear. But I'm just kind of plodding along the way I'm doing it.
I believe we're coming into the age of the multipotentialite anyway. I think as we grow, I think a lot of people are going to accept. I don't think they're going to be as confused that, you know, people have to understand that you're going to be so much more about than just real estate. You're going to buy into different things like self-improvement. You know, they see me doing this podcast, but yet I do voiceovers, I do content creation, I do media coaching. And on this other hand, I run an LED lighting business with a great business partner.
Well,
I mean, who confuses who here?
You brought up Cardone earlier about how he was a car guy. You know, he's a car guy he would say way too long. He wishes he would have expanded and got more horizontal to where he wasn't only a car guy, he was a real estate guy, he was an insurance guy, he was a chiropractor guy, he was whatever else in a more wide platform. And one of my model, I've used his model along with like a Dave Ramsey model to where there is a spokesperson, a brand that has created a business cycle. I want to be the business cycle to where I'm getting people's attention. They're stopping, they're paying attention. Then you've got to have a sales cycle where you have people reaching out to these people that could be potential clients, and they sell the people. So a lot of what I do, I mean, so much has been copied off of Cardone, just different.
Well, it's successful. Why not? Absolutely. And you spent about a half a day with him when you went down there?
Yeah, I paid for Cardone U for Life in a 15-minute meeting, and it ended up for 4. He always over delivers.
Yeah,
15 minutes is 4 hours. It was one of those things where I walked into it. Me and Brittany Renee walked into it, and I was thinking, man, this is awesome. I walked out of it so deflated because he challenged my belief on how big I was thinking. I mean, it was just, he's sitting there telling me I need to be thinking about 10 times what I'm doing right now.
Well, the next time you talk to Robert, you got to remind him that he needs to start using me a lot more because Cardone asked me, he says, man, how come we didn't use your voice at 10X GrowthCon? I said, good question. I sent you stuff. I sent you a bunch of dry tracks. I mean, I want to be a part of it, and let's figure out how to make a partnership work. And maybe I just need to be more assertive. I've sent him a proposal, but nothing's he's a busy guy. I get it. It's going to take time.
Hey, another thing that we're going through in our coaching program is you got to learn how to ask without consideration.
Oh, yeah.
Which is also a form of uncertainty whenever I'm asking for your business without consideration of how it's going to make you feel. I need to present this and remove all consideration. But I'm a big believer in what you're talking about of giving, and then asking. Whenever people come to you and they ask immediately for something, I like it. I don't like it. I absolutely hate it. But I like the fact that these people are so stupid. Like, if they would take a little bit of time to look me up, you wouldn't send me an email and say, hey, Thomas, or hey, if you call me GTT, I'm probably going to call you. I won't even email you back. I'll probably call you. Hey, you've done a little research on me. I had this one guy, he emailed me the other day. I didn't respond. He emailed back and said something and said, hey, this ain't spam. Don't worry. I won't email you back. So okay, Dick, I ain't going to call you. I ain't going to email you back. I'm waiting for him to email me back so I can tell him how pathetic he is, because I do want to do that.
I had that similar experience where I was being courted for a video position, and I was, kind of long gone in terms of wanting to work for other people. I mean, it may come back. I may work for somebody else at some point and be employed. That's fine. But not until it's in, I have that risk exposure balance in place where it's kind of more on my terms. And he was looking for a unicorn in terms of what he wanted. And I knew it. And I knew I wasn't a fit. And he told me at one point, well, we're not a good fit. And I said, yeah, I agree. We're not a good fit. I'd still like to meet with you. Only to tell you that, dude, you're looking for a unicorn. You're looking for somebody. You need a team. And by the way, what you're looking for, you don't need yet. You need to build up your personal brand. You need to give value. Mm-hmm. And that's where a lot of people, I'm just going to come out and I'm going to right hook the world. I'm going to show them, I'm going to beat my chest and show them how rich I am and look at all my cars and my big house and this, that, and the other. I don't give a crap, man. That doesn't mean anything to me because it ain't mine. Mm-hmm. And all you want to do is sell me stuff. Cardone, Vaynerchuk, Frisella, Milet. These guys are taking jabs constantly because they're giving out value. They're giving what they know away. And I think actually part of our success, it is incumbent upon us to share what we know. Okay. I understand doing little courses and coaching sessions and people buying your time and things of that nature. But I think it's incumbent. If we have a modicum of success, you need to share what you know. I just think it helps everybody.
This is very impactful to think about this. Chew on this. Cardone says probably 80 to 90% of what he gives is free.
Right.
Think about how much he's giving. I have learned so much from Cardone on his nightly streams where he'll just do something and I'm listening. Andy Frisella, his MFCEO podcast, I mean, I listen to it when I run, and hey, he doesn't get paid anything off those things.
No.
I think most of these great people are probably getting paid off about, let's say, 10 to 20% of what they do. They're actually monetizing, but because of the fact that they're giving so much, they can go out there, and when they get paid, they can get paid in big chunks.
Right, and that's the thing Vaynerchuk does. He gets paid, anywhere from 100 to 150 when he speaks. That's a good income, man.
You've got to realize that you're going to be underpaid for a long time until you get great, and then the market is going to overpay you.
Yeah,
it's like Vaynerchuk. I mean,
you're good.
If you're good, if you're really good.
Yeah. And if what you say is impactful, the thing about Vaynerchuk and why he is so different is that he's unapologetically opinionated. He just doesn't care. Mm-hmm. And if you are measuring, and if you are being measured in your response, and this is the DNA I see in you, Tommy, and I've told you this before, you speak. There's one thing about asking without consideration. There's another thing about speaking without consideration. And I call it the Howard Stern effect. When he started speaking without consideration, he started planting that flag in the soil, and his star began to rise because all of a sudden he started planting a stake in what he thought and giving opinions. When you are vanilla, when you are, Jesus even said, you're either hot or cold. If you are lukewarm, I will spit you out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. Have an opinion. Stick to it. Believe in something. And that's where you really start, differentiating yourself. So I think with your Thursday night shows and again, for people following you, that's another great thing for people to watch because you are as real as you just put it out there. And that's a big part of it. Keep on going with it.
I can get it even more real.
More real.
I can make it more real, man. I can do it.
You got to do a show on the toilet or something. But okay, on that note, we're gonna wrap it up.
I'm walking in there and peeing with this thing. To be honest with you, I didn't hold off a little longer.
I was like wondering if we should wrap it up 20 minutes ago, but we just kept on going. But I'm going to wrap it up now. We got 50 minutes in. I want to thank people for listening. JMVO Weekly Primer. Find Good Time Tommy. #GTT. You'll be able to find all of your stuff. What's the central place they can find all of your stuff? Is it at goodtimetommy.com?
Yeah, goodtimetommy.com. You can navigate around there. There's links to every place. Goodtimetommy.com. Help me blow it up, Jimmy.
I will. I'll help you blow it up, and I'm more than happy to do so. Thank you for listening to the JMVO Weekly Primer. Please subscribe. Look into the past archives of what I have out there. It's a brand new podcast. I'm still trying to get listeners and get it off the ground. So please subscribe, rate, comment, like, share, all that good stuff across all the socials. And, of course, through iTunes and Stitcher. Just go to jimmccarthyvoiceovers.com/podcast. Pick your poison and go for reports from there. Tommy, good time, Tommy. Thank you for being on.
Jimmy, man, it's been a pleasure, buddy. Thank you very much.